Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Webinar Wednesday. What we want to talk about today is we just want to talk about some tips that might help you out for cold calling. So, cold calling is a great way. It's a great lead generation source. It's a great way to get some buyers on the phone, being able to find some property or get some sellers on the phone. Get a good way to find some properties to be able for you to get under contract, to send to your buyers, that type of thing. It's also a really good way to get people really upset with you. So what are some tips? What are some things that we can do to help you out with, what's going on when you are cold calling? That's what we want to tackle today. That's what we want to talk about and kind of open up and go with here. So Ronnie, first thoughts on just when you hear, like, if I said, hey, Ronnie, I have a list of 20, 200 people or something like that. I need you to cold call through. What are your first thoughts? What's going through your mind and kind of what's going to happen during that time of those 200 phone
How
calls?
the first thought is, how am I feeling? Because when I know that I have to get these calls and things like that going, I have to make sure I'm in the right frame of mind. We have another acquisition person, Nigel, and a intern that's also making those calls. And so I'm just kind of coaching them. My first question is, how are you feeling? Are you okay today? Did your wife treat you all right? Did you eat enough cereal? Did you get enough sleep? Did you take your vitamins and say your prayers? What did you do in order to prepare yourself? Because that's what's really important. When you're making these phone calls, you want to make sure that you're in a good mood, because you have a little hill to climb in order to bust through all those no's to get to that yes.
Yeah. Something like just what Ronnie said. This is something you can't really fake it until you make it. Like, you can, if you have a smile on your face when you're making these calls, it comes through. People can hear it on the other line. It comes through on the phone. So knowing that your tone is so much more important than what you're actually saying. So
Yeah.
you got to be in the right frame of mind. If you're not, don't make those calls. Hold up, go do some push-ups, go take a run, go for a walk, go drive around, go do something else and do it tomorrow. Something not to just like procrastinate and put it off, but you need to be in the right frame of mind when you are making some cold calls, because you know what, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get cussed at, you're going to get yelled at. All those things are going to happen because you need to be in the right frame of mind to be able to do it. And also, don't set yourself up to be able to do it for a long period of time. Don't sit
Right.
there and say like, hey, I'm going to do this for 8 hours today. Man, God bless you if you can. You're a rock star if you can bust that out and be positive for all that time. I can't do it. I know I can't do it. I'd be lucky to last an hour. But I know that about myself. So I was like, hey, I need to set out this 45-minute time block. I can do it. Then I take a 15-minute break to go do something else. And then I can come back and do it then. I need those breaks in there. I need to get my mind right when I'm doing this kind of stuff. But
That's something very important that you said. I want to piggyback off that real quick because there is a wholesaler that I've been working with, and she works a regular 9 to 5, which a lot of people that are in wholesaling, that's what we do. We work a regular 9 to 5, and then we have these times. And so she said, look, I have about 3 days. I'm going to take my 3 PTOs and I'm going to just cold call all day. And in theory, that sounds nice. That sounds advantageous, and like that sounds like a great idea. But I warned her. I said, "Look, you want to cut this cake in small pieces.
yeah,
Like, you can't eat all of this cake at one time. You're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get upset. So just like Brian said, taking some time to kind of just chunk it out. Go to work, come home, debrief, find a 45-minute, 50-minute period where you can make some calls, and then do it that way, because you'll get burnt out trying to do it any other way. So it's okay. Number one, cut the cake small and eat, and handle what you can handle.
yeah. So no, good tips. Now, when you're actually on that call, there's a few different things I like to just kind of keep in mind whenever I'm making these calls. So number one, I'm going to act friendly. I'm going to be friendly. I'm going to be in that, like I said, we had to be in that right frame of mind. So I want to make sure I'm friendly. I also want to make sure that I kind of act a little bit confused. And I'll kind of get into that as we kind of get into these calls. So I'm going to be friendly. I'm going to be a little bit confused, but also I'm going to ask permission. I'm going to make sure that, hey, they're okay with everything I'm asking them, or that they have time, those types of things. I think those are all very important. So as we get into this call, what I mean by acting friendly, like I'm going to be like, hey, this is Jen, or is Ronnie there? This is Brian from Simple Quarters. I'm not gonna be super serious. I'm not working for a corporation. I'm not gonna be corporate about it or anything like that. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm looking for Ronnie. This is Brian. I'm just, it's something as super simple as that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be super friendly, act like I'm just like kind of that next door, that long lost friend that I haven't talked to since high school, or I'm gonna be that friendly person that they're just gonna be intrigued by. Wait, Brian, who is that? Do I know a Brian? Do I talk? Like that's how I'm gonna treat that and things like that. So, and then kind of get into it. I'm going to be a little confused. One of the best tricks I've kind of learned as you're making these cold calls, I'm going to be confused as if like, hey, yeah, I'm trying to find the owner of the property at 123 Main Street. I'm going to seem like I don't really know what's going on. I know, I've skip traced it, like, because what's the number one thing people ask? How did you get my number? What's going on? Well, when I can't seem confused about it, I'm like Mr. Private PI or something like that. Of like, I'm trying to find the owner of this property. Is that you, or what's going on? Seem confused about it. They're going to answer. They're going to say like, oh, how did you get my number? How did you get this? They know how you're trying to find. They don't know. They realize like, oh, he doesn't really know if this is who this is or how I'm talking to or what's going on. So it kind of eases that kind of tension right away a little bit. Does it work all the time? No, it does not. People are going to be like, hey, what are you talking about? No, that's not it. And plus, when you skip trace, you get numbers. You're going to have a wrong number. You're going to have a wrong name. You're going to have a wrong address. Some of those things are going to happen. So, but just be confused about it. If you're off, if you're off base or anything, they're going to let you know. Be like, oh, okay, sorry, missed your time. Cross them off your list. That's fine. But also, if you are right, if you're like, yeah, I'm the owner, they're going to correct you. People love correcting. People are going to make sure that if they are the owner, they're going to want to know, oh, did I win a prize? What's going on? Why does he need to know my address? Why is he looking for the owner? That kind of thing. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there too that are cold calling. They're making those calls. Maybe they get it all the time. Maybe it's like, hey, are you a wholesaler? Blah, blah, blah. Just be like, yeah, I am. Honestly, I'm looking to buy some more houses. That's what's going on. Be honest about it. Don't try to lie about it or anything. But what I found is this is a way to get your foot in the door, kind of a really good way to just kind of, like I said, break the ice, seem a little bit confused, but then find out if they really are the owner and just kind of figure out who that owner is. But your main goal is just kind of keep them on the line after that. Next is just ask permission. Just make sure like, hey, oh, great. Okay, Ronnie, you are the owner of 123, 123 Main Street. Great. I'm so glad I got a hold of you. Hey, I would love to do you have a couple minutes just kind of hear what I had to say? This is what I'd like to do. I have a couple questions for you. Do they have time? Making sure they know that. Then you kind of get in a little bit of like, hey, here's who I am. Here's why I'm calling you. That stuff's fine. That needs to come out. They need to know what's going on, but then asking permission, seeing if you just have a minute, let them know what's going on. After that minute, I ask permission again of like, hey, is it okay? Can I ask you a couple more questions? Do you have more time? Are you busy? Or, or like, hey, you probably don't have more time to like talk to me anymore about this. You probably wouldn't be interested in hearing a cash offer, would you? Kind of phrasing it like that, kind of going back to the confused thing a little bit, but just asking permission on those things. Mm-hmm. So kind of said, be friendly, be a little bit confused, and ask permission. I think it goes a long way with that. So Ronnie, knowing that, thinking about some calls that you've made, knowing that this is kind of what we're training our team on, this is what we've done for a while, things like that. What have you seen on putting those things in place of how that's helped our guys kind of stay on the phone a little bit longer, figure out some right information and go from there?
It's helped a lot. It's helped a lot because when you're asking permission and you're also having that confused tone, which number one, you're not lying because you are kind of confused because you're not really sure who you're talking to either because this is your first time talking to them. So, but people like to kind of problem solve. So if you're kind of sorting through the call, sorting through the addresses and things like trying to figure it out, people will correct you with the right information, and also be willing and more open, to kind of help you solve that problem. The other thing is that, it's also keeping, like Brian said, the sellers on the phone, keeping them, the longer that you have them on the phone, the longer that the stronger that the rapport is getting with them. And so that's really important. I've been talking with one of our, he's our acquisition manager, but he's also doing a lot of cold calling, Nigel. He has been taking these steps and been using them a lot. And he's seen a lot of progress in just, figuring out who actually owns the property. And then also to being able to set up the walkthrough. I'm getting a rapport with that because again, that confused tone makes the seller want to kind of help solve the problems. Now, sometimes the tone might change, but again, you've asked permission. Hey, what time frame work for you? Is it okay if I ask a couple of questions? Do you have 6 or 7 minutes? And then again, you've already stated your reason. Just trying to figure out who the owner is. Just want to see if you might be interested in a cash offer. It isn't always a smooth landing, but but you want to get to a place where you can land and just kind of bridge to have that communication to try to get through setting up that walkthrough.
Yeah. So, and then after if you're still on the phone, you're still kind of made that progress, you're still going well. The next thing is making sure you're the purpose of that phone call. So What do you want to get out of that phone call? It's different for everybody. Maybe you're somebody that's doing it virtually and you're trying to close everything over the phone. Well, you're going to be digging in time. You're going to be digging in pretty deep. So you need to make sure they have some have time. They're ready for those conversations. Some people, their goal is just to get a walkthrough, and that's fine. Just set up a walkthrough, get it scheduled, and go from there. Sometimes it's just qualifying. Do I want to, kind of, is this something I even want to pursue? And I'm going to qualify first, then maybe I want to set up a walkthrough. Some people want to set up the walkthrough and then kind of do their research and qualify from there. Maybe they have a list of, those 2 or 3 questions, go through, qualify from there, and then ask permission again. Hey, do you have a little bit of time to, if I go a little bit deeper with this, or ask you a couple some questions that might get a little personal, or, hey, I would love to, this sounds like a great property. I'd love to set up a walkthrough and be able to, kind of meet you in person and talk to you and stuff. So knowing, kind of feeling that person out and kind of going from where it is. So know what your purpose is and trying to make sure you get to that outcome too. So what are you trying to get from it? Are you trying to get a walkthrough scheduled? Are you trying to just qualify it and get it into your system? Or are you trying to close it right there on the phone? Those types of things. So knowing what your purpose is and going from there. So
I definitely agree. That qualifying measure is super, super important once you're able to get someone kind of on the phone to try to figure out if that's the right fit for you or not. So you can save yourself a lot of time, by qualifying correctly.
So awesome. So those are some of the tips that we use, some of the things that we use to help ourselves grow with our cold calling. It's an awkward conversation. It's a weird conversation. It's tough to do sometimes. You have to have the right, the right personality, the right frame of mind, things like that. So, and why do we say that? So Ron, I want to lean on you for this of basically like when you are cold calling and you are making those phone calls, and we've talked about, hey, you're going to get cussed at, you're going to get, people are going to be upset with you and things like that. Hopefully some of these things can kind of lighten that a little bit, but on that back end, some of those negative things that can happen to you and why you need to be in the right frame of mind and stuff like that. What are some of that kind of that negativity that you might receive on the back end, just so people are prepared on what they might hear coming from people when you are doing some cold calling?
Yeah. What you might hear in negativity is you don't have $400,000. Stop effing calling me. So you might hear that because I have, I've heard a couple of grandmothers get really nasty because they meet that demographic where a lot of data analysts or things like that they might be getting a lot of mailers, so they already kind of know the jig, what's going on. And so, they're not going to sell their house, at all. So you might get some of that. You might get, someone that's divorced that's just like, just crying is like, I'm never going to sell it because this house is emotional. So stop calling me. And you have to kind of be aware of that. The other thing is that throughout all of this is that when you're calling these people, they're sometimes very stressed and also embarrassed. Everyone that you're calling, most of the time, we're talking about motivated sellers that are in situations that we say they're motivated, but these are not ideal situations. However you mask it, whatever you want to say, these people are not in ideal situations. So sometimes they're really embarrassed about what's going on, or they're defensive about what's going on. And so then here is this outside person that who knew that I was crying? Maybe they was crying last night or whatever it is, or just crying because they got some type of notice in the mail or something like that, or and then now here you are calling. So they might not be in the best frame of mind or emotional, ready to receive us. So you're gonna get a lot of random things. But again, you have to remember that in all of the cold calling, what is the point of that? Is that you're looking for a person that happens to have a property. All of the calls, all of the lists, all of the data, everything that you're doing, all the advertising, you're looking for a person. You're looking for a person that you can help and that is in the position to help. And so that's what we're looking for. So just continue to remember that. Out of all the no's that you're getting, that's fine. They disqualify themselves. That's great. Put them in a follow-up system. Maybe the situation will change. But you're looking for a person. And sometimes what you're also going to find people that's like, yep, I'm waiting to sell this house. You're the 5th person that's going to come over, come and make your offer. So now you're in a competition as well. So you got to be prepared for that as well. Everybody might be in a stress situation, but some people cope and handle that differently. You might get the professional salesman that's kind of ready. You also might get the defensive son that wants to run you through the ringer. Maybe they don't own the house, but they're making all the decisions. You kind of have to, you have to work through that as well. Those type A personalities that just really, really strong and straight to the point, that aren't looking for any empathy, just shoot me a number. That's all I want. I want the highest number. I don't care what it is, shoot me a number. So you just have to be prepared for all of those things and all of them personalities. And again, that can weigh on you. When you're at your 50th call, within the hour, you've had a bunch of voicemails. Your emotional bank might be a little, weird. Again, talk about how you're feeling, what's going on. So you want to make sure that you're in the right mind frame, you've had the right things to eat and drink, so that you can bounce these things off. And again, remember, you're just looking for a person. You're on a mission for a person.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Remember, if you have that list of whatever it is, 200 names that you're cold calling through, 1,000 names, 20,000 names, you have that list that you're cold calling through. Remember, a lot of those people are not going to want to sell, and they shouldn't sell to you or get under contract with you. You're looking for those people that do fit, a certain criteria, fit that avatar. That's why you're doing it. You are weeding out all of those things. You have a list of 200 people that you want to cold call through, you're not going to get 200 deals. So knowing that, understanding that, and out of that list, maybe there is only 4 deals in there, 3 deals in there, 1 deal in there. But sorting out all those no's to kind of get to that person that, they fit my criteria. This is the avatar. They is the person that does need to sell. They're in that distress. I can't help them out. That's what you're looking for right there. So also just one last thing, Ronnie brought up a little bit too of, a lot of times when you're having these conversations and you're digging into some of these things, you're going to deal with some pretty heavy stuff sometimes. So you can be in that right frame of mind. We talk about that right frame of mind because you're going to deal with some negativity. You also need to be in the right frame of mind because you need to be able to be empathetic to some of these people that are going through things like a divorce, a loss of a family member, financial burden, just can't keep up with the house, just medical issues, all these things. There's going to be some pretty heavy stuff that you're going to come across. There's going to be some pretty heavy conversations that you're going to have. So there's a lot of time you need to be in the right frame of mind to be able to handle that as well, be prepared for that, and be able to be empathetic on that back end too. Sometimes it's not even just to get that deal, but that's just right to be the good human being for that person to help them out in some way. Maybe sometimes just be an ear. So things to keep in mind. Hopefully these tips helped you out as you are getting ready to cold call, or you're already cold calling. Hopefully like I said, hopefully these help you out. Let us know if we can help you in any other way, or you have any questions about any of this stuff. Reach out to Brian, Ronnie, or Randy at simplewholesaling.com. We're always here for you. Always wanted to help. Let us know what we can do for you. Thanks a lot. This is a Webinar Wednesday. See you guys next week.